The role of the Civil Aviation Authority as a business enabler. This is the topic of our episode today. Adnan Baranbo is here, and you are listening to a new episode of AVIAPRENEURS podcast. And allow me to welcome my guest for today, a pilot who has more than 44 years of experience in the aviation industry. He's the Director General of the Civil Aviation Department in Transport Malta. Welcome, Captain Charles Pace, and thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
The pleasure is all mine. So, Captain Charles Pace started his career in 1979 as a pilot for Air Malta, and then he became the chief pilot of the airline and the operation quality manager till 2011. Later, he joined COMLUX Aviation as a safety director, and he's currently heading the Civil Aviation Department of Transport Malta since 2013. Amazing career, Captain. I'm very honored and pleased to talk to you today.
Well, thank you very much. It has been a rewarding career. Aviation is a nice career, rewarding. I got a break in 1979, and it was supposed to be a summer job, but ended up being a career of 44 years instead of just a summer job from school, basically.
I wish you long life in serving this beautiful industry.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, Captain. So Malta, it's an aviation success story. Malta is one of the most important aviation hubs in Europe, if not the whole world. Every now and then, we hear there is a new airline starting in Malta or a new aircraft operator moving to Malta. And recently, we heard the news about Eurowings from Lufthansa Group joining the list of companies that's going to be operating in Malta. So, Captain Charles, why Malta?
Why Malta? Well, I can only say what they tell me when they come here. As you know, most of this is foreign direct investment. The investors are not Maltese, not as if they're all Maltese. So by and large, they are naturally on the island. I think what we have positive is what is negative in other countries, that the civil aviation authorities are too big, too cumbersome, too old-fashioned, and are not forward-looking to work with these companies, because in the end, these companies require a flexible approach, a pragmatic approach within the regulation. I mean, nobody's saying that the regulation is not abided by. But if I were to go back to my beginning and the ages, they used to have the national carrier, one aircraft carrier, and one CAA. They used to be very close to each other, and nothing used to happen. When airlines started picking up and a lot of private enterprise started entering the aviation scheme, and the legacy carriers started sort of disappearing from the scene, things became a bit more aggressive in that respect. And that market required to have regulators who were in line with their expectations. Some of them, unfortunately or fortunately for me, are not there. And they're just the old archaic CAAs, which are slow moving, basically. And I think that we have learned from that. We've adopted and adapted to what the market requires within the regulatory framework. There's no cutting corners when it comes to regulation and safety. As a pilot, I know how important safety was and still is. But the approach is a bit more business-friendly, business-like approach, understanding their requirement. I think we also have a team of experts here, quite a few people who used to work with me as well in Air Malta, and others who were here before me, who basically together make a very knowledgeable team, knowing what to do. And sometimes they are stuck in other places because they're stuck on, they don't know what to do. But we have a team, I'm proud of the team that we have here, who can put together the whole process and guide the airlines accordingly.
So based on what you mentioned, the Department of Civil Aviation of Transport Malta is different. It's actually a beautiful form of government innovation. Normally, we see, as you mentioned, that the civil aviation authorities and the government authorities as a bureaucratic, as bodies full of red tape. But Transport Malta and the Department of Civil Aviation is working in a different way. You actually deal, as you mentioned, as a business. You care for your customers, you care for how much time it takes for the applications to be processed, and how much fees they have to pay. So in your point of view, do you see the role of the government overall and civil aviation authorities in particular changing from just being a regulator? As you mentioned, regulation is very important, but do you see the role changing from just being a regulator to being also enabler, facilitator of business, and most importantly, investment attractor?
Definitely. I mean, in the end, if I were to say, who are we? Are we the policeman or are we the consultant? I would say we start off being a consultant so that we put you into the right direction, which is regulation, which is requirement. We can become the police once you don't listen or if you constantly create problems, yes. But the first approach is to facilitate, is to help, is to understand, is to see deadlines, which are important. I mean, it's useless me trying to say, okay, I'll do this for you, but we miss a deadline and you lose a contract in the end. The financial part of it, and you mentioned client, there are people who are afraid of using that word within regulatory authorities. Well, they're not a client, they are an operator. Yes, they are, but treat them like a client, because in the end, they are here to make money. They are here to provide jobs. They are here so that the economies move forward. And yes, well, why not? I mean, why should it be an ugly word for businesses to make money? That is their existence. And once again, leaving from the old legacy carriers, which were there not to make business, but to continue and just be the flag carrier. Today, they are there to make money. And as long as they do it within the framework of a regulation, I'm happy to say that I look at them as clients. We facilitate, we work with them, we talk to them. They can reach us, call us up and come into the office easily. Some of the things we heard from other places that were accessible. Other places it's difficult to reach the top people and talk to the top people, let alone get things done. Timeframes are important, we understand. I was discussing this morning. So an entrepreneur wants to lease in an aircraft, two aircraft, at a great expense. He can't afford to have this aircraft, the 747, sitting on the ground for 3 months just because we're late in what we're doing. That costs money. He wants to have the aircraft flying as much as possible, as quickly as possible. So without cutting corners, once again, proper programming, proper understanding would put them that they don't waste time between contracts and others, and they can apply and get the business running. Once again, I keep on stressing this within regulatory frameworks, but we've adopted online systems as well. Every application is treated online. You can see the progress online of that application. So basically, anyone inside the organization from either side can watch and see what's missing inside applications and what still needs to be done. So it's a very transparent. It's not done by one person. This thing of me signing off or someone signing off a piece of paper is not done in aviation. It's a process by various people that culminates at the end a product, which is a certification or a certificate for an aircraft, basically.
It's very beautiful. So it's not only innovative government, it's also kind of a digital government where you can follow up follow up the application, know the status. It's very, very amazing.
A bit more than that, because in the end, I think, I'm a firm believer. I don't believe too much on emails, because emails are personal. And if a person leaves, he takes that with him. In an email, you can become personal. You can write a whole volume, like 5 pages of an email, when really and truly all you needed was a yes or a no. So inside the system, and I insist that all the applications happen through the system, you stick to the point, because you don't write a lot inside the small box that you have inside the system, but you write enough to guide the person of what is required to actually move forward. And if you leave or someone else needs to come in, or the organization manager wants to come in, he can come in and follow the dialogue. And it's a dialogue. And if, for example, we ask for something, you say, listen, you have this missing inside your application, and you haven't responded for a whole week, the week is lost. So in the end, it's useless coming to us and saying, listen, you didn't process it. No, look here, it's here. We told you a week ago that you have to produce this piece of paper. So there's a guidance even of how to apply by using our system. I'm not supposed to mention the name, but it's a system, UK based, which they came to us a long time ago. I remember them meeting me, I think it was 2013. And we've worked with them together, and we've developed a very powerful tool that is a very, very good thing to have in aviation.
Amazing. So normally we know that the private sector is known for innovation, for change, but this is not the same for government. You came from the private sector, you joined the government, but still I can see, talking to you and listening to you, I can see the entrepreneurial spirit alive. And different from all the civil aviation authorities, you actually travel, you actually visit exhibitions. Like very soon we're going to have eBase, and you're actually having a booth, you're having a pavilion promoting and inviting operators and the aviation community to come to Malta. So how do you keep this entrepreneurial spirit alive within a government agency?
It's not easy. It wasn't easy in the beginning as well. When I came in 2013, the idea was there, but the tools were not there. So although it was a preconceived idea to move forward and grow the industry, it seemed as if they stopped at the idea without putting anything together. We started changing some laws. We did 2 revisions to the Registration Act, Cell Companies Act. We have a new Air Navigation Act currently in Parliament. So we started changing. Another important thing was salary scales within government, which is always difficult because governments work within these archaic levels. And the expression is you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. We needed to increase the salaries so that people who are in the industry are attracted to come here, because it's useless trying to build something and then you can't get people here, or people who have enough talents to actually work. So it was a struggle. We moved out of premises which were old, were airside, were difficult. We came to new premises. Today we have very nice offices which are reachable and accessible. So it took some time. We're not 100% there. I mean, I still struggle sometimes to try and get more people and get the government to understand that you need to always innovate. But I've had, luckily, that even the ministers that I worked under were all up till now cooperative. They listened. They gave us. But I'm always asking for a little bit more. And obviously, at the moment, with the growth, we need to compensate that growth with growth in personnel. And we don't obviously bring in personnel that are ready-made, because it's difficult to find ready-made regulators. What you do is you bring in industry people who have a good deal of experience and then change them and modulate them into good regulators, keeping in mind their past. Their past is important. I even allow my inspectors to fly, because I feel that coming to this side, and if you lose the contact with the cockpit and the hangar, basically, you might start becoming a bit lazy and not understanding the nitty-gritty of the cockpit, inflating small things which are not that important, but forgetting the reality of flying, fatigue, and all these things. So it needs to be a little bit more empathy. And if you've done the job, you can understand more what happens in the cockpit and understand incidents a bit more.
Definitely. Talking about human resources, more and more businesses are coming to Malta, and this requires more qualified, skilled human resources available for these businesses. And of course, the human resources are as important to any industry as they are for the aviation industry. So what are the plans? What are the programs and initiatives you are currently working on with the other government agencies on ensuring the availability of skilled human resources in Malta?
There are quite a few companies which are complementing the cluster, because in the end, when you start a cluster, things start going naturally. So people saw this, they saw it as an opportunity. They set up training organizations here in Malta, which we even train our own people sometimes within these organizations. We talk a lot to the industry, telling them what is required. There's MCAST that are doing Part 66 and also diplomas. Even the university is venturing out there. But we feel that understanding the industry is also being simplistic, simplification rather than simplistic. You don't need to go way out there and degree and invent degrees or masters. Really and truly, you need to be type specific. Safety management. It's not a big deal. It doesn't take months or years, actually. It can be done in weeks. But if you start off by auditors, safety management, compliance, you allow people to enter the market, especially people who maybe have retired from pilot or cabin crew. They have a background. You give them a small course on safety management. They enter the system. Once they enter the system, they grow within the system, and they are seen to be growing inside, and they become integral part of an organization. So I think rather than going into these big ideas, the normal ones we know: a Part 66 license for an engineer, a cabin crew attestation, and a pilot. But that does not make you sellable 100% to a company. The company needs the other part of it, which is the regulatory part. But all you need to do is do these courses. The government allows certain schemes, like I think there's one called what's a tax rebate, get qualified, where you would spend your money to do a course, and then you would get a tax benefit for all the money you have spent on that course because you qualified in aviation. So if you spend the money, you can recover it once you enter the industry. There's also Malta is okay to allow people from foreign countries to come and work in Malta. And there's a tax rebate when you apply under a scheme, which is a highly qualified scheme for the gaps that we might have in our own industry. So if, for example, we are lacking a particular skill, you can bring that skill from outside, and the person will come for an initial period with a relatively income tax rate, which is low. But there are quite a few other things going on. I mean, MCAS keeps churning out Part 666 people for the MROs that we have in Malta. As you know, Lufthansa Technique are here, SR Techniques, Medavia, they're all here on the island, and they do require employees.
Definitely they do, and very creative and very frankly encouraging initiatives. So when you took charge of being the Director General of the Civil Aviation Department in Transport Malta, there were 80 aircraft registered in Malta, and now you have 650 aircraft. Aside from the human resources requirement, I'm sure there are so many requirements and challenges you faced in this growth. Can you share with us some of the challenges you faced and how did you solve them?
Well, first of all, it's the mentality. I mean, luckily for me, I grew and I brought in most of the people, the team here were recruited in my times, basically. So, and I recruit based on attitude rather than anything else. So I think what is important for any organization is to have the people inside the organization more or less homogeneous in their thoughts. It's useless having, I mean, it's good to have diversity, and we have quite a few foreigners here who come back and tell us what they used to do in their own country. But everybody needs to be pushing in the same direction, that you understand the goal. Unless everybody's on board. I mean, we can disagree, but hopefully you disagree on 20% and you agree on 80%. So it's getting the team together, which was a challenge, and initially we managed to do. We still need more. So the team is working together in harmony. The growth has been compensated with growth in manpower, but also the electronic devices that we've employed have helped us become more efficient, basically. So, and once you have stability, turnover is not big. We don't lose that many people here. And once again, so you're retaining expertise. Whereas if you have a large turnover of people, that usually happens in government, taken by the private enterprise, you'd have to start off again, so you slow down. But I have to also add that the workforce has been exceptionally good. The team has worked exceptionally good, becoming efficient, understanding the market, and I think that has been, it was a challenge, but I don't think it is a challenge anymore, as long as they continue to change and not be afraid of change, basically.
I don't think it's a challenge anymore. As you mentioned, it's currently became a kind of a competitive advantage. You have a team which is really helping you to grow compared to other jurisdictions. So I really salute that.
Oh, yes, and I said I'm proud of it. I mean, it doesn't mean that we agree on everything. We do have our differences sometimes, but it's an open door policy. You can come in, shout a little bit, not too much. But there is discussion. There is ongoing discussion. Even at the moment, we're looking forward to the next wave. As you said, Eurowings will be here, and there are others. We have a large demand for new AOCs and organizations, and that requires maybe a rethink, because you could do something with 80 aircraft, which you might not be able to do with 650, let alone with 750, so or 1,000, which is a possibility within the next months, if not years. So I think you need to always be trying to look one step ahead. Where and what can we do with our? This is like a football team. I love football. If you're in the second division, you might be winning in the second division, but is the team good enough for promotion? Would you need a bigger stadium? Would you need more players, more this, more that, more investment? So I think that we need to look forward to growth, encourage growth, but also see whether or not you need to change the model without creating a ripple. because in the end, you don't want to change the model. And as they say, oh, well, it's new, but the old system was better. But we have some ideas in mind to change things around a little bit, making it easier for people to understand how things are done and where to go when you need to knock on a door.
What about passion, Captain? Because the success of the team, yes, require the tools and the resources, as you mentioned, but it also requires passion. I mean, normally in aviation, people join the aviation industry as an aviator to fly an airplane or to invent an airplane. This is how aviation was historically a source of passion for people. But for yourself, you started as a pilot, you became a chief pilot, you joined the private sector, and then you joined a government agency where you are heading the Civil Aviation Department. Do you still see that you have the passion you had in the beginning in your role heading the Civil Aviation Authority? Because if you have a passion yourself, then definitely this passion can go down to the whole team. And the passion is very important in the success of any team or any organization. Can you share your experience with us here?
Well, I don't think I can do anything without passion. The day I feel I don't have the passion is the day when you move to another job or you retire, basically. And this is something that has helped me but hindered me in a way, because I sometimes don't know how to cut off and say, listen, this is it. Sometimes you go home, you take out your mobile and your wife says, but you're at home, eat. Or why are you looking at your emails? So I think dedication and passion, they are there. But then again, I mean, should we not be looking back and asking what I got rather than what I'm getting? I got a lot. I started a career as a young 18-year-old. Everything I have, everything my family has, can be traced back to my career. So I think that it's a matter of giving back also to the industry the pleasures that I took. I mean, if I look back at my career, the most satisfaction was giving the accolades to a guy after his check flight and making him and saying, congratulations, you passed, you've become a captain, you've become a first officer. And I think that I still have that, and I still want to give that. And the companies today, you give them a certificate after 3 months of work to get an AOC. They're proud to say, oh, we have an AOC, we're happy, we're out there flying and creating jobs in the industry. Malta is a small country, it requires these type of foreign direct investment, and attracting these companies. For me, if Lufthansa decided to come to Malta, it's passionate. I love it. It's great to hear these people who have chosen, and they could have chosen any other country in Europe or in the world to go to. They chose us, so we might be doing something that gives me a boost. That gives me a boost to go on and try further to attract more companies and keep them happy. Because it's not a matter of taking you through the door. You're inside now. Close the door and that's it. Leave you there. No, I want you to be happy. I want you to meet me every so often and say we're happy in Malta. We're doing well in Malta. We're doing good business in Malta. So yes, and as I said earlier on, I have the pleasure of choosing. I would say 90% of the people here have been more or less selected during my tenure, and technically they are molded and they are the type of people. They all have passion, and they're allowed to go and fly. I want them to go and fly to have that bang of the seat of the cockpit, of training, of going to the simulator and reliving the real part of aviation in a hangar. So yes, passion is extremely important. If you don't have it, you just look at it as another job and 5 o'clock, bring down the shutter and that's it. Aviation is not like that.
I'm sure you have that passion, because talking to me here, I see that frankly, I have never seen a government official feeling that proud, that happy when there is an airline coming to the country, when someone is getting graduated, when someone is actually flying an airplane. I highly admire this. So Captain, based on your experience, based on the success you have achieved, what advice, what steps you think that the aviators, the aviapreneurs, and the aviation professionals should follow and should take to achieve success in this beautiful industry we are all working in?
Knowledge, passion. So surround yourself with people who are on board with your vision and have the knowledge to deliver. It is nice to have friends in your company, but if the friends are not delivering, it's difficult to tell them that they are not. if the friends do not have the expertise. So this is a job, this is an industry that requires professionals, not just friends or nice people or jokers or whatever. They're always good to have a couple of people in the office who can make you smile and joke. But technically speaking, you need to have the passion and also the qualities that require aviation. Aviation is, as I said, rewarding. But on this other side of it, if you do things wrong, it is bad. It is, I mean, even if you do a risk assessment in aviation, you always have the side of the probability is low, but on the other side, it's catastrophic. So technically speaking, you have to understand that anything which goes wrong in aviation really is big. So you have to have people who are experts in the field. Do not invest in people who are not there to give you 100%, 110%, 120%. Apart from that, also, simplification, but not oversimplification. Sometimes people overcomplicate things when really and truly they should be rather more simple. Sometimes become with too much of a burden when it really and truly the approach could be a simpler approach, so that you could have more time to focus on the important things. Life is all about procrastination. Sometimes we tend to go and do the easy thing because that is the one that we can do easily, and you leave the most important things on the side. No, other way around. Prioritize so that you get the right things right. And then if you do have some extra time, you do the trivial matters, not the other way around.
Thank you so much, Captain Charles. I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate sharing with us the secrets of Malta aviation success story.
Thank you very much. I hope that obviously your listeners will enjoy it. And in the end, we'll meet in the near future, I guess.
Definitely. I'm sure they will enjoy. You enjoyed, right?
Yes,
thank you so much. And I appreciate it, Captain.
Saha.
Bye. See you in eBay soon.
See you in eBay, yes. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, fellow aviapreneurs. A pleasure speaking to Captain Charles Space today. I'm sure you really appreciate all the information he shared with us. I look forward to seeing you again next week with a new guest, with a new aviapreneur. Have a great day.